Hey, this is Pops in the backyard playing with a problem here on an FH721V. I guess you can see that real well. I can't. Anyway, it's having trouble with the barcode. And as you can see, chipmunks got to it, chewed. So I thought I was cleaning out water. It quit. Looks like somebody tried to weld it before as well. They're actually solid yet. But anyway, why don't I get a new one? Yeah, that's coming next. I'd already run this, or had this thing serviced up, ready to go. I had to rework the mower deck, put some liquid tube in the tires. This one, for some reason, is having a hard time. After about 2 months, it goes down slowly. So I just need to put some air in there. But it was starting to choke out and run. I was like, stop running. I was like, what the heck? So finally, I got it over here, backed up, started playing with it. Drained gas out of the carburetor. That's what that little screw is for. No water. That's what I was obviously suspecting was water, because all I had covered up was the engine, waiting for the customer to come get it, because we found out that back here water gets in the carburetor. It froze and busted his old one. Put a Chinese carb on, couldn't get it running. Now this time I figured it's got to be the fuel tank plugging, because there's no water. So what I did was I put together a pump system, a little electric 12-volt pump, and I used one of those. The DeWalt 12-volt battery with an adapter, and plugged it onto it. Well, you could probably get the adapter from Amazon too, but see if I can find it. There it is. I got this one off Amazon, labeled 12-volt. Works good. I put little ends on it here. Over here's your standard everyday pump. Now, these things work like crap unless they're primed with gas. Diesel, they're okay. But you see, I put a plug on there. There's no switch. Fuel filter, that was necessary. And I drained the tank out. Swished it out. Did I keep the old filter? Sort of. So the customer hasn't come to pick this up for 6 months. So I've been mowing lawn with it just to see how it would do. That's what I kept picking up out of the tank. Now that's on my pump there. Believe it or not, here, the filter was fine. Couldn't see anything in it. And it was plugging up a little nipple down there in the bottom of the tank. See where the hose goes around? Down in that hole? Yep. So that's the crap, some of the crap I pulled out of there anyway. Some got through and into the bucket. But the pleats are half plugged. It's quite the thing. Anyway, I managed to vacuum that out, and some was stuck in the nipple, so I got a hold of one of these blow guns, got it down in there and blew that out. So the tank's nice and clear. Used a clean filter and put fuel back in the tank. Same fuel, just didn't tip the bucket. Got it in there. Wouldn't pump. Whoa. I was thinking, I put a brand spanking new pump on here. What's going on? So I checked, believe it or not, down here. See that hose? That's your pulse hose. That connects to here. Now one of the ways you know it is, it's labeled P for pulse. And there's the vent. Now the idea of the vent is so that it can't overpressurize if you got a bad piston or something. That prevents it from blowing the diaphragm. Not completely, but for the most part. And vacuum, it has enough resistance that the vacuum will take that little thing and flutter. Well, it stopped working, so I put the original back on. Original works fine. Originally, I suspected it. Originally. Yeah. Anyway, so now I have another new filter on there. And, yeah, I used that hose for a particular reason. I can't remember what it is. There was a problem with the air cleaner and the elbow on the Chinese carburetor. I had to keep bending the elbow down and get it so there's some clearance, and still a rubber hose wouldn't clear, so I put the tie gun on there, problem solved. Now, once I got plaguing around here, yeah, I gently blew some air up through there. Now I used a plastic pipe and some rags and blew fuel up through here on my own. Got fuel out here. Got that thing primed with fuel. Nothing happened. What the heck? So I checked the pulse hose again, and it had a nice flutter and light vacuum to it. It's like, that's what it's supposed to have. A little pressure, a little vacuum. Perfect. Well, that's when I knew that that thing's probably bad. And what I did, I took the pressure side, where this is mounted in here like this. So, fuel in here, pressure, pulse here, an outlet here. Blow back through the outlet. Just, guess what? It leaked right back through the dang check valves. A little restriction, but still it leaked back through the check valves. So that's garbage. And because I've been running it, we got a I changed the oil and filter on here using a 10W30 Fleet gas, natural gas, diesel, Valvoline. So, and that's halfway in between using standard oil and synthetic, since people seem to cry their eyes out, you can't put synthetic in there. Yes, you can, you moron. So anyway, that's what we have going now. Starts better than it ever has. I don't know it'll run any better because it's been running beautiful, but at the same time, I'm just happy as a clam that it's working. So, next thing I want to do is get that out running, and I'm going to take her for a spin. Lawn's just about due nicely. And this is cut well. The blades must have been serviced. They had a nice edge on them. It wasn't sharp, but they had a nice rusted edge on them. And I figured with a few acres of grass, mowing this one probably, a dozen times by now. You probably got an acre or so of mowing in it, and it does very well. I set the deck up because it was way off. Wasn't even close. So, there we are. Chinese carb, original fuel pump, sickly. One of these I put new fuel line on, but I don't believe it was this one. This section here is new. Yeah, I got to move the clamp. I hate those clamps. Well, don't use anything else other than these clamps. The hose should stay on by itself. The only thing that this is on here for is to make sure the hose, as it ages, does retain its tension. And on here, it's kind of funny. The hose is so thin going over the nub here that stretches the clamp enough that it just puts a little light pressure on there. And because it's a slippery little Tygon, I like to have them on there. Anyway, there you are. Now, if you have trouble like I was suspecting, there's the pipe going down into the block, or the head, actually, for your pulse. You start looking at your dipstick. Make sure the cap is on. If that cap isn't on, you don't get pulse in the crankcase. It doesn't run properly. The other one is your valve cover gaskets. And, of course, your seals on either end of the crankshaft. But another one that's critical, that if you have an engine that's overheated and you're having trouble with your fuel pumps not working, you have too much blow-by in the base. It's blowing so much into the base past the piston, or possibly even the exhaust valve guide. But that would take both of them usually. That even when the next piston goes up, because these go kalunk, like one after the other, like an old John Deere. You heard the old John Deere's putt-putt. They're two cylinders, one right after the other in 90 degrees. Well, this is a V configuration. It's not that far off. They go around like a Harley Davidson. Clunk, 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 clunk. So one piston blowing by as it comes around and fires, well, the one's going down as the other one's firing, and they have a good pulse, but when you blow pressure into the crankcase that can't get out fast enough to make the vacuum, now you have a new problem. So your engine could be shot and your fuel pump working just fine. So what do? What I like to do is just take this off and I put my finger over the end. Do I feel a nice light pulse and then feel a nice light vacuum while I'm cranking? That's it. Now if you want to put a vacuum pressure gauge on there, you're probably going to wreck it, but it would be worth trying, just slowly cranking the thing. Because they only turn with a battery about 200 RPM. Some of them might turn as high as 3. But usually they're turning 150 to 250, someplace in there. So just give it a quick pulse and put a vacuum pressure gauge on there. You'll see them, the big old things. They're not so cheap anymore as they used to be able to pick them up for $5 or $10. That's how common they were back when I was a teenager in the 70s. Anybody that was a true technician used them. They set their timing with it and then would check it with a timing light. That way you got an idea how the car itself was actually operating on vacuum. We turn it all the way up while it was idling at a proper idle speed until it got the fastest idle humanly possible, adjust everything, make sure it was nice and smooth if we could, and then you turn it a little more and it'd start to misfire from being too advanced. You back it off, and you hear a tone change. Look at your vacuum gauge. It should drop about half an inch, half to 1 inch in that range. Then your timing's right. I used to set them at half because every time I went 1 inch like the boss said to do, they just didn't seem to run right. So I usually went by half an inch, and you got to have a good gauge for that, because that's all they are, is 1 inch increments. But it'd give you a good idea. And here you could do the same thing, because you've got minus 30 on the vacuum side and plus 15, and in some cases plus 30 on the other. And you're probably not going to go over 5 or 10, probably 5. and then maybe 5 inches of vacuum, 10 inches someplace in there. But if you're curious, that's something to play with. Anyway, I've got it running. The rain has stopped, and I'm probably going to go for a quick buzz around the lawn just to see how this thing is doing. Yeah, it ran great for months. The guy never came to pick it up. I had asked and asked, and then finally I told his brother that, well, you know what? It's got a $400 bill against it. I'm going to confiscate it here shortly. He said, cool. He didn't bring you the tubes yet? No, he brought me tubes, but I told him to finish the thing, I had to put liquid tube in here. Nothing would hold air to even adjust the deck. So it's been a couple of months. This one finally lost a little air. The other side is held up, and the left front has held up perfectly. I mean, you might have lost a few pounds. You're talking 25 in the front and 10 to 12 here in the back. I don't like to go over 15. If you put 15 in these rears on something like this, you're fine. That's not. I think that's what they want, is 10 to 15 psi. Look at it on your tires to see what they are. But most often we've run over the years 10 to 12 because traction isn't that great with these tires. They're designed basically for flotation. So we keep it so you got a nice big old footprint. But if you have a place where you're not worried about compacting the soil or causing a problem with the grass, bring it up to 15, you get a shorter contact and more weight in one area. So if you play with the circumstances that you're in with your grass and such, you might find that going a little higher in tire pressure might help you out. Maybe. But I'd keep her right around 10 to 12. Alright, time to go. Gotta give her a run. And the other thing I have to do is out front on the front porch, I have to get a cap for that thing. Why'd you take it off and replace it? Oh, because this one works and it doesn't leak. Also, when you're working with a Kawasaki, something to remember. Pull your dipstick out. You're going to wipe it off. All 4 sides. You're going to put it back in and you're going to follow the instructions. Do not turn the cap on the threads. Put it in. You're going to bring it out. Yeah, isn't that sweet? Just at the line on one side and just under the line on the other. That's what we're looking for. There you go. Now, another thing some guys do like I do, if you want to be real fussy, you put your dipstick in the hole with your check calibrations, or whatever you want to call them, on either side. That way you'll get an angle line on the thing. In the middle of the angle line is roughly where you are, level. Alright, gotta go. You guys have fun, and remember, it's only a cadet. Don't get excited. Catch you later.